Are you running a marathon? Oh my god, I could never run a marathon. You sure about that? My god, a marathon? That's like 42 kilometers, 26 miles. I don't understand those people.
That used to be me, but not anymore. Welcome to the Marathon Podcast. My name is Christian Warwick, aka Warwick Runs on different platforms. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, welcome to the Marathon Podcast. I just want to start this episode by thanking all of you for listening lately. It's been a big increase in listeners and streams, and the podcast is actually growing into something a little bit bigger than it usually, or what it used to be. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And if you like the podcast, if you're listening to this, please give the podcast a review and maybe even give it a 5-star review if you like what you're hearing. I would really, really appreciate that. Trying to keep this podcast as ad-free as possible. So the only thing I ask is for you to just give it a review. Thank you. We have Shaquille Roberts with us. I'm very excited to have him on. I've been wanting to have him on for a very long time. I actually was first introduced to Shaquille through a mutual friend of ours, a filmmaker in New York that I've been using for some of the projects that I've been doing for some of my clients over there. So really excited to have him on to talk about running, talk about his career, talk about the Bronx Burners that he has with Rob Dalto that has who's already been on the podcast. Super nice conversation. I think that it's very useful for people to hear because Shaq has a very different background in terms of being more of a sprinter type. He's born in a different country, moved to New York, and has now built quite a life over there and made it his purpose kind of just to help others. I think it's amazing. And I hope and think that you'll be left inspired by his story. Before we head into this conversation with Shaq, I think that I want to just share a little bit about where I'm at 4 weeks, or actually less than 4 weeks out from my main goal for this fall, and that is the Trondheim Marathon. I've been pretty vocal about my goal being a 2:45 marathon, and I feel like I'm definitely on schedule in terms of that goal. It's been kind of crazy lately to feel the progress. I was struggling a lot with the heat, and now after when the worst heat kind of went away, it's been so good. I think I already mentioned the long run that I had, 30K progressive long run, felt really good. And then a few days ago, I had 1K on 200-meter float, and the float was faster than my marathon pace in Boston, and the K pace was 3:30 to 3:38-ish, depending on elevation. And what that means is that I've actually improved my threshold pace by 20, 25 seconds since April, which is kind of crazy, to be honest. And I just want to emphasize that I haven't done a lot of really hard sessions, not much VO2 work, just easy runs, threshold training. And I've been getting a lot of questions lately from friends and people I've just been talking to who've been kind of interested in getting into the marathon scene. And it's what would I do if I was to start over again or start training for my first marathon now? And I think the advice, or my tip, is pretty simple. A lot of zone 1, zone 2 work. I think that a lot of people underestimate how easy it is, or how hard it is to stay below one, zone 3 and zone 2 in the beginning when you're a runner. So you automatically kind of get that a little bit of higher intensity, almost threshold training, just by going out running. And if you're at that level and then you start doing harder sessions, then you'll kind of end up with almost just high intensity. And I think that is where a lot of people's progress will stop. It was also very interesting to hear Christian Gru's the Norseman winner, his take on how to get faster, and saying that just by consistency and threshold training, you will get faster. And it's hard to kind of not believe in that. But then having that training that I had the other day, it's just like, you know, it kind of confirms that. And yeah, it just shows that is exactly how it is with me not having done a lot of speed work. Another thing that I want to just touch on quickly before we head into the conversation with Shaq is that now 4 weeks away, what is my plan? I believe like my body kind of reacts to a lot of and or responds well to a lot of training. But now that there is like 3 to 4 weeks left, I think what's important for me is to stay consistent with the mileage, try to stay at the same. Like this week I might get to like 110, 115K, but I'm also happy with 100K depending on how I feel. And this is the last, I would say, real quality week that I'll have. I will have a 30 to 35K long run on Saturday, progressive, kind of just doing the same as I did a week and a half ago. And that is the last one that I'll do like that. And then 2 weeks out, I'll still have a long run, but I'll go much easier just to get some hours on my feet, and then start tapering when I have 2 weeks left. And for me, the tapering is very much like what Christian was talking about last time. Same amount of trainings or workouts, but just less volume. So say I have, like today I did a run that was like 16, 17K, and on like the last week, maybe last 2 weeks, maybe that will be like a 10 to 12 kilometer run, and then do the same with all of the runs. So it's going to be a little bit different. I don't think that I need to overthink it. I am also not trying to peak in a way where this is going to be my fastest marathon ever. I just want to run fast enough to qualify for Boston, and look at this as just a step on the way to my 225 marathon that I have a goal of doing sometime in the future. So for me, at least, I just want to be confident enough to know that I can get to 245 honestly pretty easily. I hope that, and at least based on some of the answers that I got in the last couple of weeks, that 245 should be very realistic when I get to my marathon on September 6th. So just some of my reflections before we start the episode with Shaq. I hope that was okay, and yeah, I hope that through this podcast we can get to know each other a bit better, or you can get to know me a little bit better too. And obviously you're here for Shaq, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Enjoy this episode, and thanks for listening. Well, welcome to the Marathon Podcast. How do you pronounce your name? Do you say Shaq or do you say Shaquille? What is it that you usually say?
Shaquille, Shaq, whatever is fine. Shaq is like a well-known name. Well, Shaquille O'Neal, but Shaq is fine.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, like I told you just before we hit record here, I've been wanting to have you on for a while, and I'm just curious if you could just start by telling me how you got into running before we talk more about what you're doing today.
Yeah. How I got into running was I had a friend that during the pandemic we used to live together, and he was really fast, and he was like, guys, like, we just can't sit inside all day and just like drink alcohol and play board games, because that's what like the pandemic turned into. And like I want to say like 2 months in, we're like, okay, we're just putting on too many weight. Like the push-ups are not doing it anymore. Like we got to start like going outside. So we was like, all right, let's go outside and run. Like we didn't have bikes at that time. So him being like the athlete he was. So for context, he runs a sub 230 marathon. Like he's really fast. His brother is a pro, and his mom is in her 70s, and she still runs now. She still has like 30-mile weeks. So This family is runners, and we go out for this little 5K, this little 3 miles, and I shoot out the gates. Like, I'm out the gates, running hard. I'm probably running like 8:30 pace, and by this time, 8:30 for me is like hard. I'm just like huffing and puffing, and my back start hurting. I start walking halfway through. By the time we get done with the 5K, my time was like 35 minutes, and I'm like, that hurt. And I'm like, how you do it? For him, it was like super easy. I'm like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And he's like, I've just been running my whole life and things like that. And from that point, I just never really looked into long distance running. Like, on any running I was doing was probably like basketball, soccer, or any sport like that, where it's like short distance sprinting. Okay, fast forward like 2, 3 years now. I had another friend um that his girlfriend threw him like a celebration after the marathon. And I was like, damn, that's super cool. Like, going to that celebration, celebrating him. And I was like, yo, what was your time? He said somewhere between like 3:50 and 4 hours. When I tell you, like, I was like, what? Like, you ran a marathon? Are you sure? Like, are we talking about the same thing? Because my old roommate that was putting up numbers, and it was like, also on the news, they really only show the winners. Like, they don't really show like regular people like us. So I always thought of like the marathon as something like that is like so far gone that I could never do it. But when he said he did that, immediately in my mind, I was like, I could do better. Like, I'm more fit than this guy. Like, he's my good friend, but we both know I'm more fit than him. So I'm like, if he's like picking up this task and going and chasing this like marathon, I'm like, I got like gifts that were given to me naturally. Like, I'm born natural talent, and I'm over here wasting it. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start training for a marathon, because like, if I got these gifts, I gotta like lean into them. And I fall into like the rabbit hole, right? Where you start like, okay, let me see like what marathon is near. How do I train for a marathon? And then I hit up my old roommate, Remy, and I was like, I think it's time, bro. It's time to train me for a marathon. And he's like, bet, let's do it. And then we start talking, and I find out about Boston, like, and how you get into Boston, how you got a Boston qualify and things like that. And I tell him like, yo, I want to run sub 3 for my first marathon. And he's like, you want to run sub 3 for your first marathon? First he told me like, you're crazy and that's stupid. But then he was like, okay, let's go for it. Like, if you think you got it, you think you got it. Let's do it. And then I fall into the whole another trap of like chasing the world majors, trying to get my 6-star medal of getting all the world majors. And from that point on, the rest is history. I started training. My first marathon was in LA. I ran a 3:19, did not get sub 3. I
Still good though.
Right. For my first, yo, anytime I
Yeah.
tell people like my first marathon was 3:19, like, they can't believe it. And that's when I learned like I gotta fuel better and stuff like that. Cause I got to like mile 22 and just exploded. Like, hamstrings, both hamstrings gone. And when I let me tell you this. Not that I don't believe like shouldn't cry. Men should absolutely cry and all that stuff. But I'm not like a crier. Like, I that emotion doesn't come up in me. I started bawling like at mile 24, like crying. And like, it wasn't even something I could control. I just started crying. And I'm like, yo, what is happening to my body right now? And from that point on, I was like, I needed another shot at this. I need to, as hard as that was, like when the race was over, as hard as that was, I need to take another shot at this. So that's my
But
long, short intro to running.
I love that. But the crying part, what was the reason for the crying? Was it just that you were so exhausted? Were you happy? Were you just
No,
what was the
I
reason for the
honestly was
tears?
pissed off. Honestly was pissed off. Cause it was one of those things where like I really trained hard. I did. Like, I was hitting my interval workouts, my track workouts. I did the Yasso 800s, which is like a good predictor of what your marathon time would be. I think I did that training block. I did like, so it's 10 800s with 1 minute rest. And all of my 800s was like 258, 257. All of them was under 3 minutes. So I'm thinking like, okay, cool. Like my body's good. Um, and I get out there and I just felt so betrayed because like I was running so well. Like I was negative splitting, like I was on course, and then like the hamstrings just went out of nowhere, like out of nowhere. Like I'm like, I would say this. It did get to a point where I was like, okay, if I want to get sub 3, I gotta push it. I gotta like go
Hmm.
for it right now. So I did start like running harder, and then hamstrings went, and all that came through my mind was like every workout I missed, because they were workouts I missed. Every time like I didn't push myself hard enough in training, and also just like the last 2-3 months of training, like what like that toll that took on me, and it's like it came down to this one day and I failed. Like that hurt me so much. Like in that moment, I'm just like, I'm not gonna get it. Like I can't go home. That's how I felt. I was like, I just can't go back to my family and tell them like I didn't get my goal. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, so part of it was just like anger, just feeling like this is some BS. Like, what's going on? And that's what marathon taught me too. Like, marathon is one of those sports where like it really comes down to the day and the weather and the course and how you're feeling. Because basketball, I'm telling you, you take 1,000 shots, you go and pick up, you're gonna be hitting shots. That's as simple as it is. You practice shooting, you're
Hmm.
gonna hit them shots. Same thing with soccer. You work on your dribbling, you're gonna be a good dribbler. It's not about like the temperature of the weather and things like that. You're just gonna be good. So coming from sports where like if you practice, you do see the result, and then going to a sport where like you can have the best training block, but the night beforehand get diarrhea and you're done. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's really weird for me to like have it in my head that that happened to me, and I was just like broken.
Wow, that's that's quite the story. But that also means that if you didn't get the hamstring problems at, was it 22 miles you
22,
said, or
yeah.
24? Yeah,
22.
you might have hit your goal of a sub 2, no, sub 3 on your first marathon. So it seems like, I mean, you did mention before, and I want to get back to this marathon, the first one, but also other marathons you've done. But this, you were saying that you came from kind of sprinting, and I did see this mini documentary that New York Roadrunners had, and you were talking a little bit about your background in basketball, and I guess as a part of this, like, why don't you present yourself to the listeners? Who is Shaq, and what was your life like before running, and yeah, where did it all start?
So
Where did Shaq
it
start?
all started in a small Caribbean island, in a small island in the Caribbean called St. Kitts and Nevis. It's Twin Islands. It's so small, our population is less than 50,000. Um, one of my biggest flex when I go back is I run through the whole island and it's just 18 miles. Like
Wow.
I love doing that because when my mom be like, "Where you going?" I'm like, "All right, I'm about to run around the whole island," and it's just like a funny flex. um, but it's just sprinters. We just breed sprinters. The Caribbean, everyone know the Caribbean. The Jamaicans got a hold on the sprinting. Um, and funny enough, my aunt, she's like an Olympian, and
Wow.
yeah, and I used to go like my grandmother used to wake us up at 5 a.m. to go train. So that like running was in my like culture. I'm black, but it was like short distance sprinting. And I moved to New York when I was 12. Let me not jump that far forward. So I also got caught in a house fire at the age of 5. So I was back and forth in between St. Kitts and America. which I'm super grateful for and that opportunity because not much people do get the opportunity to come to America, but I got the opportunity to come here, get a skin graft, get real good professional care. So I was back and forth for a little bit, getting surgery and things like that. And then I fully moved to New York when I was 12. Been in New York ever since. I'm now 31. And from 12 to I want to say 21, I was in the Bronx. I didn't go after college yet. And that just basically raised me right there. So high school, played basketball, a little bit of track, a little bit of volleyball, a little bit of baseball. Couldn't really afford to play football. The pads were expensive. Like there's certain sports you just get priced out of. And
Hmm.
football was one of them. College, little bit of basketball. Um, didn't last long. Got kicked out. Uh, got into IT. Now I work at a public defender's office in the Bronx, representing my community, and started a nonprofit called the Bronx Burners. I know we're gonna get into that later, and
Hmm.
that's what brought me here. That's who I am.
Yeah, I find this so fascinating because I feel like obviously your story in general, but if we think about like the running isolated, the coming from sprinting and probably having very like your muscles, it doesn't sound like they were made for marathons, maybe from birth or maybe even from how you were training when you were younger. So I guess my first question is how say there's a listener out there who's very fast but can't really figure out the marathon and running longer distances because no whatever they do it's kind of hard to get those fast and maybe heavy big muscles to move fast over a longer period of time. How did you solve that part? Because that was when you were introduced or talking about the marathon in the beginning here. I was like, yeah, running a sub 3 marathon, that is not unrealistic. But if you have fast muscle fibers and that's like what you grew up with, you have to almost change that and learn your body something completely new. How did you solve that part?
Sorry to say, still haven't sold it yet. Still haven't ran sub 3 yet. But the things I'm doing to work on that is if I'll say like someone that is like, because I'm a jumper, like I could jump high, play basketball, all that good stuff. The things that I noticed is the biggest thing is fuel, right? With people that have more muscle, you got to understand your muscles are working. Especially if you don't have much fat on your body, like they're just working and they're eating up all the fuel. They're probably burning fuel like twice, 3 times as fast as other people. Um, Try to get the fuel down. That's the best I can give you right there. Second, run with other people. I feel like when I'm running by myself versus running with other people, it cancel out so much. Like when I'm running by myself, I usually pick up the pace for no reason because I want to go fast, which is not really good for the muscles. We don't want them working any harder than they should be. Two, when you run it with a group of people, certain paces just feel easier. If I'm being honest,
Mhm.
like it gets your mind off of your running mechanics. It takes your mind off of certain things, and now you're running freely. You're running loose. That's one thing I try to tell people too. Like, try to like zone out a little bit. Try not to think about running too much when you're running. Like, you want to try to feel like you ever see someone driving and then they like, oh shit, I was driving for like the last half a mile and you were so zoned out that you didn't even realize you were driving. Like that's the kind of feeling you want to get when you're running, where you're like you're running, but you forget you're even running because your mind is so relaxed and so free. Um, because the bad part about that is for guys like us with muscles or ladies, we tend to tense up. We tend to like get too restrictive and that's burning more energy. Like any little thing burns a lot of energy when you got muscle. So that's one thing I would like to say, like fuel, run with people to take your mind off of it, And if you're gonna run by yourself, just try to like zone out and try to feel most as relaxed as possible. Forget the watch. I have a Garmin, but most of the time I'm running on effort and seeing how I feel. And part of it is running comfortably too. Like we all have our own how should I say this? The way we run. Like when you look at Eliud Kipchoge, like you probably think that's a perfect form. I should try to mimic that. Like your body probably naturally don't run efficient that way. So try to find the best efficient like your formation for your body. And even though is I may not look as smooth as other people, I feel it on the inside. Like I feel like this feels smooth for me, and this how my body feels like it's burning the least amount of energy.
I think what you just said that is so important because, like you said, I think it's easy for all of us to try to copy someone great, like a fast runner. And I'm sure there are fundamental things that they're doing that you can be like, okay, that is something I need to work on, like smaller steps, higher cadence, all of those smaller
Yeah.
things. But if you try to copy too much, and especially because when you look at a runner, most likely they're not thinking about the things that you are observing, right? So like things are automated for them. It's like they don't have to think about it. So what you said there about individual differences in running technique, and also that at least if unless you have a goal of becoming a 205 marathoner, you'll most likely look different anyways, even when you have optimized the technique for yourself, right?
Right.
So no, I think that is very, very good. And but there's one thing that I'm curious about, because I'm not a sprinter. I don't have that kind of muscles. So for me, if I have strength training, I get stronger, but my muscles don't really grow
Yeah.
in that way. So I don't put on weight in terms of muscles, if that makes
Right.
sense. Uh, and I just assume that for you, when you're training to become a faster marathoner, you might not want to add too much muscle, like weight in terms of muscle to it. I don't know what your how you look at this, but a lot of people will probably be like, if I go to the gym too frequently, I might add more weight in terms of muscles, and that might not benefit my long distance
Mhm.
running. How do you solve that? Because I guess that you can almost look at weights and your muscles are growing, right? If you have that kind of
No, my friends get so upset with me sometimes because I'll be like, they'll work out year round, and I'll be like 2 weeks in of like consistent like weightlifting, and I'm explode like I just blow up like Johnny Bravo type stuff, and they just be like, how, like what's going on? And it's that's totally true. Like even when I'm like with my nutritionist, I have to tell her like I can't like how they say 1 gram per body weight or whatever. I try to like keep it halfway because if I eat too much protein, like it just the weight just sticks, the muscle just sticks on me. And I want to sidetrack off. So I run with Rob Dalto. We probably gonna talk about him. He's probably like 155. I'm 180. So when I'm doing workouts with him, I just gotta keep it in my mind, like, listen, he's like 30 pounds less than you. Take it easy. Um, so the way I try not to put on muscle is one, not eating as much protein. I still get in probably like 120 to 130 grams, but also I don't work out the upper body at all.
oh,
I just can't do it. Like bench
mhm.
pressing, um, dumbbell curls, things like that. I'll just get too big. What I'm doing now is I do pull-ups, I do push-ups, I do dips, I do more calisthenic stuff. That way it's like it's my body weight and it's not uh too much extra stress, because that's how the muscle grow, right? Like you just stress it out so much that it just forces itself to grow. So if it's your body weight, you're like, okay, let me tone it up, keep it tight. Um, but I don't weight lift for my upper body. I do some ab stuff, I do some core stuff with weights and my back as well to keep that like that stability good. But all my weight workouts is like legs strictly, like deadlifts, squats, all that good stuff. So that's one way I've learned how to like keep some muscle off. But again, it's super hard. Like I still haven't run sub 3, but because I do feel heavy sometimes, where I'm like, I probably got to try to get down to like 170 at least, by race day. But then you get like, which my coach says, Shaq, you're so stupid. Like, why are you trying to like dehydrate yourself to run a marathon at 170? You need the fluids. So there's things I've been trying, and like one of them now is like not like doing upper body workouts because I know my body would just like immediately explode.
Yeah, this all makes sense, and it makes me think of Nick Bear and like how fast he is running with the body that he has, because he's like a big muscular dude, right? Like, and he did a sub 240 marathon.
Ma-
I just don't really understand how he did that, but I think it also proves that it is possible to combine. Like, he's kind of proven to everyone that you can actually combine a lot of strength training and not necessarily sacrificing one thing to perform
Yeah,
on the other.
and
And yeah,
I'm not knocking Nick, but I have a full-time job. I don't have a company that make electrolytes. I feel like a lot of things people got to take this into consideration too. Like if you're like training tired, whether it be physical or mental from work, your nutrition, are you eating enough? The sleep is like sleep is steroids to me. Like I've done so much research on sleep you wouldn't even believe. And that's one thing I don't play with. Like I am trying to get as much sleep as possible. And when you see big dudes like that running really fast, is because like that's probably their job. They probably like squeeze every percent out of every hack you could ever think of. And that's what happens when you invest in your body like that.
yeah, and I think this what you're saying there, that is something that I was talking to a friend about it this weekend, because we have this guy in Norway who just did the Norseman. I don't know if you heard about that.
Mm.
It's an Iron Man, but they end up at the top of a mountain. So like, you obviously have the normal Iron Man
Yeah.
distances with the swimming
Understand.
and a long bike ride, but the marathon ends up on top of a mountain.
Oh my
So
god.
it's just, yeah. So it's insane. And there's this guy. He's just like a fitness influencer in Norway, and within just a few months, he's been able to kind of transform himself into a pretty good triathlete. And he did this. He ended up, I think he placed placed fifth yesterday at the Norseman. And a friend of mine was like, it shouldn't be possible to do this and turn things around so quickly. And it's super impressive what he's done, just like Nick, right? Like
Yeah.
sub 240 marathon, very, very impressive. But it's like you're saying that if you're able to just dedicate all your time to training, and everything that you do is about that, and you're able to go out a couple of times a day and you rest in between, and all you have to think about is your nutrition and your sleep, that's a very different way of approaching something like a marathon or an Ironman than people who have work and have things coming up.
Right.
Like, I'm sure for you, you might have a stressful day at job, and then you have Bronx Burners, and just things that take up a lot of your time, your energy. Something might happen at, like with some of the kids at Bronx Burners, that you want to just spend more time there. All of these things will obviously affect your performances in the long run, and most of us can't, unfortunately, maybe
Let's take it.
just spend all of our time trying to become better marathoners or Ironmans.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm like, I do want to give the Iron Man a shot, and I think that will like literally force me to do that because it's probably gonna be like 2 workouts a day, 6 days a week, like 3 months, just focusing on that. So I do think I will get to that point. And a lot of my friends now, they're getting married, getting kids. So like the social life about it is like also changing, where I'm not gonna be going to as many brunches as I used to. I'm not gonna be obligated to go like to any like parties and things that much. And I'm honestly really looking forward to that part of my life.
But I find this, I feel like I hear this a lot these days, where first of all, it seems to be a trend that more people are like, I would rather prioritize running than partying. That's like one thing that you hear all over. And I'm curious about, because now, and you talked a little bit about how running is a big part of your life. If for those of us who are following you on Instagram, it seems like running is your whole life, right?
Right.
And I'm curious about how much has running changed your life and your lifestyle. You did mention that in the beginning of COVID, it was kind of sitting at home on the couch and just drinking alcohol. Like, what does your life look like today compared to before you found running?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. This is actually how me and my girlfriend met. So Rob had hosted a like little get together Friday night. This was way back in like 2023, and literally that Friday night we were carb loading, pasta, bread, rice, all that good stuff. And Rob, he makes his own fuel. He also had fuel for us. He had like gels. He had salt packets and stuff. He was doing like deals with brands and things like that. And we were out of there and in bed by like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Because I think we started around like 5, 6 o'clock. And I literally went from like taking shots on Friday night, pre-gaming, to go out and stay out all night late, wake up Saturday morning with a hangover, and then guard again that night, and then wake up Sunday sick to my stomach. Like, why did I do that? I'm never drinking again. To now where I'm carbo loading Friday evening, drinking as much water and salt as I can. So 6 a.m. on Saturday, when I see people stumbling out the train, coming from whatever party they're coming from, I'm like 10 miles in on my run already. And that is just like one of those mind game tricks of the Matrix where you're just like, what life was I living? Because I see myself in those people and I'm like, what life was I really living? Like, what's going on here? So my life has changed a lot. And I love both of them. Don't get me wrong. Last year, Christmas time, I go to St. Kitts because we have like big carnival celebrations for Christmas and things like that. And I still party and I still drink and I still stay out late. Um, but I feel like when I'm training for something, um, I like that as well, where I'm just like up early, going to bed early, body feeling good all the time. Um, Always like hydrating and things like that. So it's just like a total mind shift that I enjoy. Like it's like they say in life, you need balance, right? So I feel like this is one of those things where I found the balance with.
Yeah, I think that that is a very, what you're saying about finding that balance, but also kind of when are you doing those things? So like, you probably shouldn't go partying and getting drunk a couple of weeks before a big marathon, because that would probably mess up your performance to a week or two later. But I guess since you've then had both lifestyles, or live both lives, however you want to say that, uh, I guess you know better than most of us, like the difference in how you feel. Because I think that a lot of people might be like, oh yeah, but I can get drunk on Friday and still run on Saturday, and they might get through that run.
Right.
How, what have you seen for yourself in your body with that lifestyle change, and how does it affect your running when you are partying, for instance, and how does your body feel without the partying?
Yeah. I'll start with the partying. I'm usually not training for anything when I'm like partying like that. but honestly, the runs, they are much harder. I would admit that they are much harder. I wouldn't say they're less fun because I enjoy each one because the views and things like that. I wouldn't say it's less fun, but it's harder than it should be. And the recovery is a little bit harder as well. And it just doesn't feel the same in the sense of your body feeling it. Like a run that you could probably did a 10-mile run, you're probably like, "Ah, I'm good with 6. Like, I'll just chill at 6." Um, Now without alcohol, it's like night and day difference. And I'm telling you right now, I'm 31, so, like, I'm not a person that is, like, against alcohol or I will run a campaign against alcohol, but I've literally considered going, like, cold turkey. That's how much I think it, like, makes a difference. And I went one cold turkey for one training block, and it was, like, night and day difference, where it's, like, you always have energy to run. You always feel well recovered. You always feel like it's not hard to get up. Sometimes when you drink, it's so hard to get up. It's like, "Damn, I gotta go run right now." And without alcohol, that's already hard enough, right? If you're not really motivated. But with alcohol, it's like super hard because now you're like, you might have a little headache or your body might not feel as pumped as you need. And then that's when you want to get into the whole coffee, you want to get caffeine, trying to get yourself up. So I think it's much more easy to get up and go run when you're not drinking. It's just a night and day difference. Like you just gotta. I mean, you will feel it. Like there's no like ifs and buts about it.
I totally agree with you. And I think that there's also another thing, and I don't know if you felt the same, but I feel like, say, because I don't necessarily think that not drinking alcohol and not partying, it doesn't need to be opposites, right? Like
Right.
you can easily go to a party and you don't have to drink alcohol. And I've just experienced that when I'm in a training block and I'm feeling really good in training, and then I go to a party and I don't drink, then I just feel so much better about myself because I'm like, I'm serious, I'm dedicated, I'm doing this, and I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. It's more like, okay, this feels good, and I sometimes I just bring that feeling with me to the training. Say I was at a party, and then the morning after I'm out on a run, and I'm like, this is good, this is nice, like I'm feeling good, I'm not hungover,
Mm.
and yeah, it just gives you kind of a little confidence boost, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's like a compounding effect, right? Where it's like you have two roads. You got a split road where you go drink or you don't drink. But like
Hmm.
once you go down this road, like the decisions just start getting so much harder. It's like you start drinking, then you're like, I'll stay out an extra hour late. Then you're like, I'll get up late. It's like it's just like bad decision after bad decision. And then if you don't drink, you're like, all right, I'm out hanging out. They want to go to an after party, but I gotta run tomorrow. Imma just head home, already, like, showed my face and all that good stuff. You get up early, you get the run in, you feel good about the run, you get the run done, and it's like that compounding effect of, like, you're feeling so good, you're just riding every decision after that. So, I definitely understand what you talk about when you say that because it does feel good to have discipline. Like, Kipchoge, he has a lot of famous quotes, but one of them is like, the people that are truly free are the disciplined ones. And I truly believe that. Like if you're disciplined and you can like turn down a drink and say, I'm good, I'm just here to have fun and celebrate and control yourself, that's true freedom.
Yeah, yeah, that's well said. And I also think that, at least if you have a goal of running a certain time, or if you're just training for a race, whatever it is, there's also something about, it's a cliche, I guess, but like saying yes to that performance rather than saying yes to those drinks
Yeah.
on the Saturday night, right? And I assume that you'll be more grateful for the yes to the marathon and no to the drinks than yes to the drinks and no to the marathon when you look back. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that a lot of us sometimes you just need to hear it. Like
Yeah.
I've experienced myself sometimes that I listen to podcasts and I hear people saying something similar to what you were saying, and then it kind of just reminds me, yeah, I need to be more locked in. um I'm usually not drinking a lot of alcohol myself, but like say in the summer sometimes you just enjoy life a bit more,
Right.
uh and like you said, there's nothing wrong about that, but just to know what kind of effect that has on your body, just to be aware of it, and then
Right.
you can choose based on that. And I think that's something all of us kind of we need to hear that from time to time.
Yeah, because you're gonna pay the price no matter what. You're gonna pay it.
Exactly.
There's no like loan forgiveness, no none of that. You're gonna pay it. And one thing I try to keep in my mind is that like how bad do you want it, right? Like how serious are you really like? And I have my races that I'm really serious about where I'm like I'm not giving, and then I have my races where I'm like running for fun, really enjoying the experience and not really like um stressing myself out on like every little detail. So it is some of that is part of it too.
Yeah, exactly. I want to hear more about your running journey and your goals. But first, we have talked a little bit about the Bronx Burners, and you did mention Rob, and he was on a podcast and he was talking about you and how he was standing with a sign, and then you, what did the sign say? Do you remember what it said?
Yeah, it said if you're running the New York City Marathon, wave. And
Yeah.
I waved at him and he's like, all right, come over.
Uh, and it sounded like you were one of very few people who actually
Yeah.
waved at him.
Nah, he told me like he was like 5 minutes from leaving. He was like, what am I doing out here? Like, no one is stopping.
Yeah. So what that ended with was that he taught you how to fuel for a marathon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And I'll talk about the situation from my point of view. Y'all probably heard his point of view.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I would love to hear.
so this was after my first marathon, after LA, and now I was training for New York because I was like, let me try to keep this fitness. Like I already really got really good fitness. Let me try to keep it and let me try to attack New York. So a lot of my runs were like done in Central Park. So I'm running, I'm running, I'm running. And this one I started like, I want to say a month before that, I started like documenting my running journey, so to speak. And I'm running in the park and I see him with the sign and I wave and he's like, hey, can we chat real quick? And I think this is what like people really don't stop us because like you're running, you don't want to stop your watch and like chat for 2-3 minutes. You're like, I just want to finish my run. And for me, it was an easy run. So I was like, I'm not doing no intervals. I'm not doing no tempos. Maybe if I was doing a tempo, I probably wasn't going to stop. So the timing was crazy. And I stopped and he's like, dude, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to hear your story, things like that. And I start telling him like why I started running and me wanting to be like the best athlete in my group friends so I could just like have that title. Um I'm an Aries if that any listeners cares about horoscopes. Um and I was telling him like I just want to be the most athletic and if I get the 6 star, that would be like something no one can take from me. Like I ran all 6 world majors, ran them in a good pace. I went around the world, like no one can take that from me. And then come to find out, he like already had his 6 star while we was talking. And
Because you didn't
I
know
didn't
who Rob
no,
was at
no,
this point.
no.
You just stopped and you thought this was a random person, random stranger with a sign.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for the listeners, you gotta understand it's like the videos you see online where people like walk up to people and they be like, hey, if you race me or if you do this, I'll give you free shoes or something like that, right? But a lot of them lately have been staged, but me and Rob was not staged. Like I didn't know this man, I didn't know who he was. And we get to talking and he's like, oh, like you cramped up at your last marathon? Like I make my own gels. And at this point too, it still wasn't clicking for me. Like, okay, I was like, you make your own gels, okay. Like I'm like, this is weird. He make his own gels. And then he's like, okay. let's go on a long run. We're gonna test your fueling, and we're gonna see what this is about. So we exchanged numbers, we exchanged Instagram. We get on a long run that weekend. Like it was quick too. It was like right away. We go on a long run and we tried everything like gels, salt sticks. We tried um what else? The pickle juice. We tried pickle juice. We tried everything. And I always tell people when I tell the story, the weird thing about that is the case study was messed up because like what actually helped me, we don't know.
Yeah, because you tried everything and whatever worked. You don't know if it was the pickle juice or if it was the gels.
Right. So I'm like, oh my God, we did all that to really come to the end of it and be like, I guess fueling works, but we don't know which fuel.
That's awesome.
Um, and while we was in the long run, we started talking about my life. We started talking about his life and things like that. And in that video, I was like, I want to make running cool in the Bronx. Cause like coming up, you got basketball and you got football. Those like the two big ones, right? There's there's no one back in like 2008 to 2013, that era where like long distance is like a thing. It's just like, oh, I want to be Kobe, I want to be LeBron, or I want to be like Peyton Manning, I want to be a football player. So running really wasn't something that I even thought for myself to be like a possibility. So I was like, you know what, like this younger generation, I want them to know like this could be an avenue for you as well. Like don't box yourself in, because I feel like a lot of times we box ourselves in where we're just like, oh, we could only make it either rapping, making music, or like playing a sport. And we limit ourselves on like what how many ways we can make it and do a career path. So that's one thing that was on my mind. And Rob heard that and we hung out more honestly after that. Like we became like best friends like immediately. Like we would go to the gym together, we'll do workouts together. Um and we just end up building a connection. And he was like, do you really want to make running cool in the Bronx? I think we should start a club. And I was like, I only known this guy for like 3 weeks, probably a month at this point. So I'm like, start a club. Like, how we gonna do that? And he's like, I don't know, like, let's just go where you used to run when you were younger. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we could go to that park and see what's going on. And literally, me and him, just the two of us, walked into the park. We did a couple laps on the track. We seen a couple people. We went up to like two kids and was like, hey, like y'all want to run with us? And they was like, yeah. And I end up like racing them in a 100-meter dash, almost like pulling my hamstring. And from that day, we were like, yo, we're gonna be out here next Wednesday. Bring your friends, bring whoever. We're just gonna be here just to run with people and like give them more knowledge on like running and things like that. And in that moment, I didn't know it was gonna turn out to be what it is now. And also, I didn't even know like New York Road Runners, they host so many races, and like we don't know. Well, like I didn't know about them when I was younger, and I'm pretty sure people still don't know about them now, right? And this is like New York Road Runners is like a big race company. Like they host so many races, and it's like there's no way that there's a borough in New York City that is just like ignored or just like doesn't like know about this. So I started telling everybody I knew. I was like, listen, they have these races. High schoolers are free. They could come run. They're like 4 miles, 3 miles. And that was another headache too, like getting the kids to actually buy into long distance, because they're like, 800 is long distance for me. Like, so it was a fun beginning.
Yeah, and I think that this is kind of, I don't know, we tend to talk a lot about how running is fun in terms of goals, like time goals and all of that. But after I talked to Rob about this, and you talking about it, and obviously seeing on Instagram what you guys are doing, I feel like when you're talking about this, I get a little bit of a feeling. You know how they talk about how Kenyan runners, for instance, they almost run to survive, like
Yeah.
or to make it. And for them, there's a lot of money in it to do that. But what I feel like you guys are doing is you are creating this community and making people feel like they belong through running, right? So they get a great entry to a great sport. That is
Right.
one thing. And I know that you guys have also provided a lot of kids with scholarships.
Right.
Uh, but like the whole thing, the whole community, I'm just blown away by, first of all, like you guys, like you and Robin, how, because you're doing this just, it's a nonprofit, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do this in
Yeah.
my free time. I'm not getting
Yeah,
paid.
exactly. Exactly. And the fact that you're doing that, and the results you guys have with it. And I'm sure that there are so many people out there, if you ask them what Bronx Burners meant to them, or means to them, like that it will be so many cool stories out there. And I'm just curious, where does this passion to help people come from for you?
Ah, that's a great question. I think it comes from me getting help as well. Um, in my high school year, I had graduated, but I also had a house fire, and I had like lost all my stuff, like clothes. I literally ran out the house for like a laptop, slippers, and like whatever I had in the laundry bin. And my high school track coach, she like heard about this, and she was like, I'm gonna like start a GoFundMe for you, and we're gonna get you what you need to go to school. And like thank God she did that, because I was able to like go to school and have like some clothes, some gear, right? And it always left like an impression on me that like I have to like pay her back. And like she would never take any money from me. Like I would try to pay her back and she would like never take any money from me. And I'm like, okay, like I gotta pay this back somehow. Like I gotta do what she was for me, I have to be for someone else. And it's always been in my mind to just like open people's mind to like a different lifestyle, because it's k I'm a rewind because I'm probably rambling right now. But my track
You're
coach,
good.
she also like used to like take me out to dinner and stuff like that. And some of my friends used to think like we were doing something, but we weren't. um and that was a big deal for me, because like growing up in the Bronx, like we never really traveled to like Brooklyn or Lower Manhattan and things like that. Um, I always tell people like Times Square for us was like downtown. Like that's the farthest you went. Um, but she would take me to like nice restaurants. Restaurants where, even Asian restaurants where I had to use chopsticks and things like that. She like exposed me to so much that I was just like, damn, this how life can be. And um I remember, like, taking my grandmother out to, like, a nice restaurant for the first time, and, like, having that smile on her face, and the bill was probably, like, 120 or something like that, and, like, that was, like, a big deal to her. She's like, "How are we gonna pay this?" I'm like, "Grandma, I got it. Don't worry about it." And, like, my grandmother growing up never really did that. She never, like, really ate out, never really went to big restaurants, so we never had that experience, and I only got that experience through my coach. So I'm like, I gotta like expose as much people to this as possible, because like being in the Bronx, you get caught up like being on the corner, chilling, laughing, drinking, having fun. I mean, like it's not like, yes, it can be dangerous, like if you're involved in gangs and things like that, but if you're not involved in gangs, like chilling on the corner, playing music, playing basketball, doing things like that, like that's fun. That's how like we kind of escape. but in reality, there's like a whole nother world outside of that. And I think that's what I'm trying to get people to see. Like, your world isn't like that corner to that corner. And I feel like that happens a lot where people like, I'm gonna just stay in my hood, I'm gonna just stay on my block. This is what I know, and this is like where my family grew up. So I'm gonna raise my kids here. And I think like my teacher exposing me to a certain different lifestyle at that age, I was like, wow, this is what I actually want to do.
It's just amazing, and I'm I assume that a lot of people listening to this, and myself included, you feel like you want to do more when you hear this. So it's like a great story to inspire, and I just want to challenge you to, like, if you could pick, say, one story from the years of having the Bronx Burners, and like a story that has made, or maybe a kid or something like that, that it's made a huge impact on you. W- Do you have any of those where, or that you can share?
Yes, I have. I do have many, and I'm gonna share a couple because they're all like different in different ways. So the first one is our first scholarship ever, and he was one of our first recruits ever. His name is Isaiah, and he was supposed to go to college in Georgia, and I think his housing situation fell through. And I knew he was like a hustler because he would go to work all the way in Coney Island, and he lived like all the way in the Bronx. So I'm like, if he's doing that, he's chasing a dream. Like, he just needs support. He just needs like shoulders to stand on. And me and Rob, we started a GoFundMe. We started raising money for him, and he ended up going to a different school. And we kept supporting him. We kept saying like, listen, anything you need, talk to us. Then after that semester, he went upstate. Now he's at Oneonta, and now he holds the school record in the long jump. And that right there, I didn't cry, but like I wanted to. I felt it. I felt my body felt it where I was just like, he got the school record. Like, his life trajectory, like, we supported that, and we had a hand in that. And he may not be where he is right now if it wasn't for the Burners. Granted, he's a superstar on his own. He gonna be great no matter what. But it's the help that transcends him to that next level. And um I was just happy to give him that chance to be great. I think a lot of kids just need a chance. They just need a shot to show their greatness, and I'm just happy we were able to give him that. Second time, um, we do free runs for the community every Wednesday, and we have people there from 6 years old up to 70 plus. A lot of them don't really know where to start with running, never like ran stuff like that. So they show up like in like shoes that are like not built for running. They like, they're sneakers, but they're not really comfortable to run in. And I think that's one of the gateway, the doors that block people, where it's like your runs hurt so much that it's like, I don't want to run. My like ankles are killing me, my knees are killing me. And it could be because of the shoes. And New Balance, uh, God bless their soul, shout out to them. They donated like free shoes to all the runners multiple times. And now they have running shoes where it's super, it makes a big difference. Like, the smiles on their faces, like, oh, I don't have to pay for shoes. Like, I have running shoes now, and my run is so much more enjoyable because of that. And that touched my heart too. Um, the third one I'll say is when I catch them running without us. Like, I seen two kids running one time, And he was like, "Hey, Shaq. Hey, Coach Shaq. How you doing?" I was like, "How y'all doing?" I was like, "Y'all running right now?" They was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How much y'all doing?" They was like, 3 miles. And after they ran that way and I ran this way, when I told you I, like, stopped and sat down because I was just like that right there almost made me pass out because, like, that influence, I didn't think it was gonna be that I didn't think they were gonna be out here training alone. I thought they was only gonna run with us, but they're picking it up on their own now. They're like, Shaq introduced me to this, and now they're taking it and making their own thing." And seeing that live is just, like, unbelievable. And I seen another runner, his name is Kofi, and he does, like, calisthenics. He's mainly weight stuff, but he likes to sprint and things like that, but he never really was doing long distance before us, and I see him out there now, and I'm like, "Wow," I just can't believe it sometimes where he's just like, "This is really happening." Like, I'm really making running cool in the Bronx. It's, like, crazy.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I'm left with the feeling that obviously you see a very direct impact on kids' lives when you're able to give them a scholarship or provide them with shoes, all of that. But at least based on my own experience and how running for me has changed my life for the better, whether it's mental health or just like pure joy, right?
Right.
And then when you're like you telling this third example of kids just being out running, it's almost like you're giving them running as a gift, because for them in life, just to know that they have running and seeing and feeling uh, what running can do
Right.
and how that can change their lives. I mean, like, it's very obvious that it's changed your life, but I feel like running changes everyone's lives, and it's very, very inspiring to hear, and it gives a lot of hope. I remember being left with the same feeling when I talked to Rob that uh, we tend to read a lot of about bad things, right? Like
Yeah.
that is happening, and then you hear about this, and you're like, this just gives me so much hope,
Mhm.
because there's so much of this in the world too that we don't really hear about,
Right.
and I'm so happy that first of all, obviously, that you're doing it in the first place, but also that you're sharing it, and uh, I love seeing, because like you said, on Wednesdays, and I'm sure it's like Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's when I see it pop up on my Instagram with a little bit of a recap or photos from the Wednesday run with the Bronx Burners, and it's like, it's one of those things where I might not engage a lot in it, but I just see it there, and I'm like, this is so cool that this is happening. And I also have so much admiration for you and Rob for doing this on your, like you said, for free on your free time. Like, it's I'm in no position to say thank you on behalf of those kids, but I want to say thank you on behalf of the rest of us who are just, yeah. I don't know. I'm left a little bit speechless about on this, because I think it's amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Those help a lot. I think when people say like some of my friends too, like from the neighborhood, they be like, "Yo, you getting paid for that? Like, what's going on with that?" And uh that mindset that they have, it's not like their fault. I just think there's a lot going on. But I'm like, I do get paid because when I see the smiles on their faces and when I see the respect and like the change in their attitudes towards me and towards the community, that is priceless. It's so priceless because when we Bronx Burners, we had an event where we cleaned the park up. We like planted trees and things like that. And when you have kids like that where they're like investing in their community in that way, they're less likely to litter. They're less likely to like see someone like destroying the neighborhood and just stand by and be like, no, I don't want to do nothing. But like if I just cleaned the park up and now you trying to come and throw trash, I'm gonna check you. I'm like, yo, pick that trash up. Like, I just swept this whole park. You're not about to make it dirty. So part of that is that's what like my payment is. My payment, my joy, and why I keep doing this is the effect is happen that's happening that I can be like, I guess this will be ego, but like I can be like, I'm part of that. I'm one of the people driving this in this direction. And that's where I feel good at. Like out of all the people, and I'm telling you right now, we get a lot of pushback from like the government that it's actually their job to be doing this stuff, cleaning the parks and stuff. I'm actually proud that like we're doing it without no funding and we're doing it in our free time because it's like this actually shows that we actually care and there's no I don't how should I say this? We don't have no end game to like manipulate people or anything like that. Like we just genuinely want to see a better and bigger Bronx.
Yeah, I feel like you guys probably have a tagline of some sort, but it should be something like changing the world through running because it's definitely what you guys are doing. So yeah, I think it's great, Jack, and thank you for doing it. Just can't imagine how much this means for obviously the kids and the people who are a part of the the Bronx Burners, but also for the families, for the parents who are probably seeing changes in their kids.
The
And
moms, I
yes,
love them.
yeah,
I love
exactly.
them because we have one girl, her name is Caitlin. This is another thing we did. We sent her off to a running camp where she was there for like a couple of weeks with other runners and things like that. Because again, she's super gifted. She's like 13 and she will do the Yasuos with us. Me and Rob, she'll probably be running like Yasuos, but she'd be like 3:15. She'd be like 15 seconds behind us, 1 minute rest, and she's out again. And she's only 13. So like she stay with us. She's gonna be a beast by the time she's 17, 18. So like her mom is just so grateful that we were able to send her off to camp. And we have another student where um his school due to complicated situations, like he had to pay for school lunch. And like they really just couldn't afford it. So Bronx Burners, hey, we can step in, we're gonna step in. And we were able to do that. So it's things like that too, where it's just like the parents are just so grateful for us in that way. And also like keeping the kids distracted, right? Keeping them off the streets and keeping them away from um certain bad things, right? Like we all were young. If we're not like doing something productive, we're probably playing like ding dong ditch or something. Like we doing something mischief. So this is one of those things where like it also keeps them distracted and keeps them busy and like, hey, I just ran 3 miles. I'm tired. I'm going home. Forget everything else. So it's like things like that too.
Yeah, no, just amazing. I would love to talk more about the Bronx Burners, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are intrigued. But if they want to learn more about the Bronx Burners or follow you guys, where can people find you?
Yes. So we have a website, bronxburnersrc.org. We also are on Instagram and TikTok. That will be Bronx Burners RC as well. And my social will be Shaq underscore TV3 on Instagram and just Shaq TV on TikTok. And yeah, I think that's mainly a lot of the socials.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. I do wanna before we finish our conversation. I am a little bit more curious about you. We did talk a little bit about you, and now we've obviously heard about your projects. But you did mention New Balance, and if it could be that I got this wrong, but do you also have a personal
Yeah.
like yeah?
Relationship with
How does I mean, first of all, that must be so cool. But like having
The way my
Yeah.
life has changed, I don't know who's pulling the strings or like what's going on, but it's crazy. And I'm gonna start off by saying this. So I started running, right? Yeah, I heard that story already. I run into Rob. I run New York City. Now I'm like, I want to get my 6 star. I apply for a charity to London. I get into London. I raise the money. Me and Rob, we go to London together. We're in London. We sleep in the same hotel. We're having a ball. There's this New Balance event that we get invited to. He gets invited to, but he drags me along. Um, I show up. I'm in like a full Nike sweatsuit. I'm in like a full Nike sweatsuit because I didn't have any New Balance gear at this time. And we go to this event, and some guy, I didn't know who he was at this time. He sees me and he's like, let me cover that up for you, buddy. He takes his jacket off. He takes his New Balance jacket off, puts it on me. I put it on. I wear it for the rest of the night. But also we're just around chatting, talking like, hey, I was London. What you doing in London? You're here for the race, blah, blah, blah. Keep. We exchange informations. End of the night, I give him his jacket back. And I kid you not, probably like a month and a half later, I get an email saying, do you want to be the face of New York City Marathon for New Balance? I'm like, what? So I do the campaign. We do the pictures. The pictures come out beautiful. Come August, my face is everywhere in every running store, tagged with New York City Marathon. I like I just couldn't believe it. All my friends are like, I'm seeing you everywhere, bro. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. And all I could credit it to is just showing up. Just showing up, being out there. Anybody that's trying to like, this is besides like the running stuff, trying to be an influencer or you're trying to start a new career or you're trying to get into something, just show up. There got to be like free events. There got to be like mixers, shakeouts, whatever the case may be. Show up. You never know who you're going to meet. You really never know who you're going to meet and you never know who you're going to run into. And it could just change your life. It could change the whole trajectory of your life just by showing up to an event that you thought like, it's this little event, you know what I mean? But excuse me, I want to say like from waving and stopping with Rob to going to that New Balancing event to like just showing up to the park and talking to the kids, like all of those steps that changed my life, it started with me just showing up and going and being out there. So that's one thing I'll have to say. Because also on another note, because I asked my to go back to my running coach, I was like, why did you choose me? Like, why was I the kid that you took interest in? And she was like, Shaq, there was like 3 other kids before you. And you were the only one that like leaned into it and was okay, like going out and experiencing this life. And the 2 other kids that she spoke about, that I knew it was a mindset thing. I knew like when she came to them, they were just like, "Who's this lady? Like, what's going on here?" And they were too skeptical, and it was just like they didn't have an open mind of thinking like, "Oh, let me try something different." Like they were just too used to what they were used to. And but me, I was just like, like moved here when I was 12, different language. Like I just felt like this is right up my alley of just like just another situation. I may not feel welcome. I may not have the tools to be in the room, but I'm in the room. I'm gonna figure it out.
Oh, well, I love what you're saying about just showing up and that mindset. I also that's kind of my experience too. That if you keep showing up and you keep working for it, then because a lot of people will call it luck, right? Like because you could also, if you look at it isolated, you'll be like, oh, that's lucky. You went to that event and then you were the face of the New York Marathon. But it's never that simple. It's usually a lot of things happening before or leading up to that, and then there are like maybe years of work or years of trying to make it happen or make something happen. You don't necessarily know what that will be, right? Like for me, I can relate a lot to it because I used to be a speed skater. I was doing that full time for years, and I was like putting everything that I had into that, and I didn't really get the results that I wanted, especially as a senior. I was like, okay, now things are not going my way, but I still kept working and grinding for 10
And
years. And at some point I was like, okay, now this is not working out anymore. And then I started my career as a filmmaker and photographer. And honestly, I felt like everything came to me so easily. It was like, oh, okay, I got a client here, and now it's my living, all of that. And then it was my fiance's cousin. She said something about how everything that you worked for throughout your life, whether it's in that same field or not, it will kind of lead you to something. So the way I look at it is that I worked so hard to become an Olympic champion as a speed skater. Never got there at all, but all that work and all that effort that I put into to s- to the training as a speed skater kind of just helped me. And maybe I was more destined to become a filmmaker and photographer. Maybe that was more what I was meant to do. And so I feel like if there's one thing that, well, when you're saying this, what I want to communicate to, since I have the opportunity to say something, is that work hard, and even if it doesn't end up with being the the results, or you might not reach those dreams that you thought you were gonna reach, it will most likely reach to some, or lead to something that is still very good, and maybe a dream that you didn't even know that you had.
right. Because I
So, for instance, being a New Balance ambassador all of a sudden.
right. I'm
Yeah.
just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And like you said, right, you probably didn't start out saying like, "I'm gonna be a filmmaker" when you were training. You're just like, "I'm just gonna work as hard as I can," and it comes down to like you've developed all those tools, right? Um, I think they're pretty basic. They're just like the discipline to be like, "Hey, I'm going to do something. I said I was gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." Then you gotta have the structure of like having a calendar and things like that, and those translate. Like in
Exactly.
athletics, right? If
Yeah.
you're fast, it's gonna translate to every sport no matter what. If you're fast, if you're strong, it's gonna translate. So like once you build a good foundation, it's just gonna translate to whatever you decide to pick up. So and to your point is like, yeah, just work, bust your ass, and then you gonna be all right.
Yeah, I think you're right. And speaking of that, the last question that I have for you, we did talk about your own running and your marathon journey, and you said that you haven't yet broken the 3 hour barrier. But what is your next goal? How are you working towards becoming a faster marathon today?
Yes. So my next goals, I'm not giving that up. I mean, I'm sometimes I'd be ashamed to show my face in public because like I've I've had 3 attempts. 3 attempts. This next one will be my 4th attempt, and it will be on October 12th, in Albany, New York. Course is pretty forgiving, and I chose this course on purpose because the last ones were like hilly ones. Like I was running up bridges, running down bridges. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to get me a nice little flat one. That way I can like jump over the hurdles in my head. Cause I feel like after the second one, I kind of got in my own head of like, damn, can I really do this? Like you start second guessing yourself of like, is this really possible? So um I'm not gonna go for a world major just yet. I'm gonna do it at a world major, but right now I need to prove to myself I can do it. I need to prove to myself I can do it. And then I'm running New York again in November for the third time straight, which I'm super grateful for. I'm super blessed for. I take none of this for granted. When we look at these races, I think last year it was over 50,000 runners. It was like 54, 53. And you look at it and it says like, you look at the stats and it's like only 400 people from the Bronx ran. And it's like, I don't want that for my community. I'm like, listen, y'all, there's people that come from around the world. People really stress themselves out about this. We have it right here in our city. We have access to it. We should be doing this thing. Like, this is the biggest party of the year. I always tell people, everyone think New Year's is the biggest party. No, you gotta see New York City Marathon. There's not an empty gap on the street for 26 miles. The sidewalks are fully flooded like crazy. Like, I've run London. There's some empty parts in London. I've ran like other marathons. There are some empty parts. The only empty parts in New York is on the bridge, and that's because they don't allow them. New Yorkers are crazy. If they allow spectators on the bridge, there will be spectators on the bridge, but they don't allow them to get on the bridge. So I'll say that I'm like, those are the goals for the rest of the year. I'm thinking about doing a full Ironman next year because I'm 31 and I want to see how far I can go. Like, I really want to see like how fit I can get, how strong I can go. Cause one day my kids are gonna come to me and be like, Shaq, what have you done? And that trophy case, that trophy room, or whatever I have, they're gonna look and they're gonna see some big numbers in there.
I love that, and that is a great way to end the podcast. I hope that you'll do an Ironman and that you'll reach your goal of doing a sub 3 marathon. And I definitely need to have you back on to hear how those things happened.
Oh yeah, we
But
definitely gotta
for
do the
now,
follow up.
yes,
Also,
definitely.
one of my this is now personal, is to get runners from the Bronx their 6 star. So that's like
Oh,
my
that's amazing.
philanthropist goal of like
Yeah.
having people from my community that's not into running, but get them to get their 6 star. And I'm halfway there with my first runner. So we'll check back in and see how far he is and see how far my journey is.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on, taking the time, and appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
I think it's easy after a conversation like this to feel like you're almost not contributing a lot because you hear Shaq and you hear Rob and the things that they're doing with the Bronx Burners. But I think that what Shaq said, it's such a good point, and at least it made me feel really good about myself and like, sharing those stories. And maybe sometimes it's not always about doing something yourself, but sharing the message, sharing the things that people are doing, because that can inspire people to do good things, but also just to hear about those good things. I think there's a lack of good news and things that are good that's going on. And I think Shaq is a great example on this, and he inspires me, and I just really appreciated this talk. And it's obviously also really cool to hear how he went from marathon no way to now running marathons and being ambitious about that, and how he looks at the lifestyle of running and how he approaches that. I am also pretty I love to hear how people who are, have a specific muscle fiber, like being very explosive, and how they turn it into a marathon, because it is a huge difference between someone like Shaq and me. I'm not big. I don't have a lot of muscles. I don't get muscles if I strength train, whilst, like Shaq said, he gets muscles immediately, and that's not necessarily always a good thing for runners. So hearing how he's dealing with that is also very cool. And I hope that if you're listening to this and you're in the same situation as Shaq, or if you feel like things are a little bit hopeless for like from the nature side of your body and your muscle fibers, that this was useful and motivated you to find your way. In the next episode, we'll have Savannah Nelson on. She is a Florida-based runner, and if you're watching this on Spotify and you've seen the intro, you'll actually see that she's the one running next to me in a pair of red shorts in the beginning, like in the intro. And it was actually Leah, who was on the podcast earlier, who recommended me reaching out to her because she did a 2:52 marathon in Boston. Super, super impressive. I really recommend the chat with Savannah. We talked about a lot of important stuff, I think, and she has so much. Although she hasn't been running for that long, she has a lot to share and a lot to teach all of us when it comes to running. So really recommend that episode, and that will be out on Thursday. Thanks again for listening. Really appreciate you being here, and I'll talk to you in the next one. You listen to the Marathon Podcast, brought to you by Wall Studio.